What does it take to be happy? Well, the Asian Oprah, Dr. Marissa Pei, may be able to shed some light on that subject and others coming right up. Hi, I'm Dennis VanDerGinst. Join me in a series of entertaining and interesting conversations with entertaining and interesting people. We'll explore various aspects of the human experience and what makes life more fun. This is Uncommon Convos. Welcome to Uncommon Convos. I'm your host, Dennis VanDerGinst. And before I introduce our guest today, I want to take care of a few housekeeping issues. First off, if you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to, rate, and review Uncommon Convos on your favorite podcast platform. It's completely painless, I promise you. It's quick, easy, and best yet, it's free. When you subscribe, you'll automatically be alerted to when new episodes are available. Plus, you get our eternal gratitude, so you'll have that going for you. Also, don't forget, you can learn more about Uncommon Convos, leave comments, suggestions, and watch the video version of each of our episodes, including the one that's coming right up, simply by visiting uncommonconvos.com. Lastly, I want to thank our sponsor, VanDerGinst Law. Yes, that is my law firm, but I think the entire firm, the attorneys and everyone else there, deserve our thanks because they indulge us in this podcast and deserve my gratitude and that of our production team. So if you're injured on the job or due to the wrongdoing of another, VanDerGinst Law would be honored to help. Simply go to vlaw.com for more information. Now, I'm really excited to introduce you to our guest today. She is sure to bring some happiness to your day. She's been dubbed the Asian Oprah, and for good reason. Dr. Marissa Pei is certainly a Renaissance woman in the same way as Oprah. She's an organizational psychologist who's consulted with and assisted businesses in a wide variety of ways over the past 30 years. She is a true edutainer, having hosted and produced a brilliant program called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. She is a best-selling author of 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. In her spare time, if there is such a thing, she races sailboats, sings, and lives her life motto, no regrets for the past and don't die wondering for the future. You can learn more about her and order her best-selling book by visiting dr.marissa.life. The accomplishments go on and on. The accolades just continue to mount up. So, Dr. Marissa, it is such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
It's an absolute blessing to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I think that our audience is really going to enjoy this. And there are so many things that we could talk about. It's hard to start to figure out where to start. But I'd
like to thank you for the very nice bio introduction that I wrote. So we'll start with that.
I read it so well, right?
You did. And the only little correction is Dr. Marissa has no period in the website, in case people are surfing right now, checking me out before they commit to listening to my opinion, my hashtag positively opinionated.
Gotcha. Well, good to know that. Well, in any event, I thought it'd be a good idea to start with something that's very much in the news right now, which is the withdrawal of Simone Biles from the Olympic gymnastic competitions. I guess one quick caveat is that she did actually compete today, and and those folks who are, I don't know when people will be listening or
is that a spoiler alert?
So yes, this is a spoiler alert. I'm not going to say what happened, although I do know what happened. But for those of you who are not familiar with Simone, she's likely the greatest gymnast of all time. She was heavily favored to win the gold medal for the all-around competition and to help her team get the gold once again. Unfortunately and surprisingly, she decided to withdraw from the competition, stating that the mental's not all there. And I also read she may have been suffering from something known as the twisties, which is something similar to the yips, a condition which can cause the body not to perform like it should due to mental fatigue, stress, depression, etc. Some people have criticized her for letting down her teammates and her country. The team did settle for the silver in the team competition rather than the gold. Other people have applauded her decision to focus on her mental health and to draw attention to how important that is. So, Doctor, what are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, my automatic reaction is it's none of my business, and that is one of the things that keeps me happy. Is when something happens that I am not in control of. I'm not a gymnast. I don't know what it's like to have that kind of pressure. I don't know what it's like to have that kind of strenuous training. I don't know any of that. I have no right to have an opinion and blast that opinion all over to be argued with, agreed with, or disagreed with. And my beloved dad, who's in heaven now, he used to say a critic is a one-legged man telling you how to run. And unfortunately, our country is run in this, everybody has a right to my opinion. And it really takes us down as a country. It takes us down as humankind. How could you possibly have anything negative to say about anyone who you don't live their life? You don't know what is happening. You don't know. And why would I waste my breath and my time, which is my most valuable resource that I cannot get back, and spend a day on social media talking about this particular thing? Yeah. And I, sorry, I didn't mean to start off so happily heated, but it is one of those, people ask me all the time, what is the one thing that keeps us from being happy? And the one thing that keeps us from being happy is we abdicate our choice. Our most powerful muscle in life is choice. And we abdicate our choice and focus on what we pay attention to whatever horrific thing is happening out there. And media is a weapon of mass distraction. The Olympics are a beautiful thing. There's so many beautiful moments that have happened in the Olympics. There are so many beautiful people, the sharing of the gold medal, the unexpected, people who have spent their entire lives, for this one point in time, and good for them, no matter how they do, good for them. And you're not in her head. You have no idea. I have to trust that everybody does the very best that I can. And why would I criticize someone who has had enormous amounts of pressure? Who knows? Look at Suni Lee. She didn't have that kind of pressure. Guess what? She did fantastically. Now,
absolutely.
Anybody who doesn't believe in psychology, it just has to look to the Olympics to at least acknowledge the power of the mind and the power that we all have, but we tend to externalize what we should be internalizing. And that's why my focus is always my happy 88 mission is 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. Because I want you to focus on your own reality show, not someone else's. Are you happy? Are you performing in your life the best possible way? Are you doing what is best for you and the people around you?
Right.
Then if you're not 88% of the time, turn the TV off. If you can't enjoy something that is entertaining and inspiring and motivating like the Olympics is, then turn it off. If you cannot say anything nice, don't say anything at all. That's definitely my rule, continues to be my rule. And it's not even about the morality of it. It's not even about, being kind, which is a wonderful way to live. It's about what makes me feel good. Number one, foremost, does it really make you feel good to criticize someone who cannot be feeling fantastic herself about what has happened? Come on, folks.
Right. Yeah.
Mind your own forking business.
I think
say something nice.
I think that's great advice, not just for this situation, but that's great advice with respect to everything that you see particularly online on social media, about politics, about so many social issues that come up, and everyone's got an opinion, of course, and everyone's entitled to share it.
Actually, I disagree with that.
Well,
you don't have.
I guess I don't get to share my opinion.
Well, yes, you do, but you have to. People talk all the time about the amendment, the right for an opinion, the right to speak your mind, and I take big affront to that, because you can say anything you want, but then take responsibility for what you're saying.
Absolutely.
So don't give an opinion unless you take responsibility for that opinion. So if in doubt, keep your front door shut. That is such a BS, a belief system that has led to unnecessary conflict.
Right.
So I can have an opinion about a plethora of things. Do I need to share that opinion? Especially us. We have a platform, and yes, to a certain extent, we're here to talk, right? And I'm going to talk about things, but I have a responsibility in the way that I talk about things. And shock talk, and if it bleeds, it leads. And paying attention to the most horrific, gossipy, what takes people down, people in their worst behavior, is the worst use of our time and attention. So yes, you can have an opinion, but you do not have the right to always express your opinion, unless you are totally willing to take responsibility for it. And so that's my caveat.
No, and of course, I'm an attorney, so I'm looking at it from the perspective.
No,
I know, me too. I look at it from the perspective of, yes, you have the right of free speech, of course, but I agree with you 100%. Take responsibility for what it is that you are opining about. Be accountable. That is so important.
Yes.
Now, circling back a little bit, though, Doctor, with respect to, for instance, the stress that obviously Simone and athletes in general have to go through, are there mental exercises or anything like that you could offer to the people who are listening right now who may be, feeling something akin to that kind of pressure or stress in their own lives that can kind of get them over that hump? Or does it simply require taking, a mental health break, or what can they do to get past those types of demons?
First thing in the morning, don't pick up your phone.
I like that.
I'm doing a talk this afternoon called 8 Highly Effective Habits of Highly Happy People. So that is my number one, is plug your phone in another room if you cannot help yourself, because your phone is a distractor to who you really are. And the stress that you put yourself through, there's no one putting a gun to your head to pick up your phone. There's no one putting a gun to your head to scroll through and find out who likes me, how many likes did I get, how many comments did I get, what positive things did I get, what awards did I get. Nobody's asking you to do that. Who's emailing me with a compliment? Come on, you guys. Right. If you start the day reading your email, what is email? It is give me mail. People want something from you. That's why they email you. So why would you do that first thing in the morning? So that is my number one tip. When you wake up in the morning, don't pick up your phone. The second thing is to sit up, and we're going to do this right now together. This is the most powerful tool that you have in your cadre outside of choice, which is the breath. So eyes gently closed, taking a deep breath in through the nose, and release through the mouth. Soft shoulders, soft elbows, soft knees. Another deep breath in. Now releasing the stories and the drama, everything you've already jumped into your head about what needs to get done, who needs an insult back, just releasing all of that. The last deep breath in, connecting with life with a capital L, knowing that you did not die last night. The planets did not crash into each other last night. We're alive. We have an entire day ahead of us. And now gently open your eyes.
That feels good.
In that silence. Doesn't that feel good? Took 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's the tip for
I
the
like
morning.
that. I like
And
that.
then the philosophical theoretical one is if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, I will bet you $1 that you have a little bit of perfectionism going on. Now,
Mm.
pandemic aside, so let's talk about hashtag BC19, the time before COVID. There were a lot of stressed out people. There were out of 4 Americans were taking some kind of antidepressant, anti-anxiety pill. This is
Mm-hmm.
before COVID. So now it's double that. So perfectionists shoot themselves in the foot because they give themselves anxiety because nothing is ever good enough. If you're a person that says, I'm harder on myself than anybody else is, I am my own worst critic. If I get 99 compliments and 1 insult, my mind plays the insult over like a broken record.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be happy when I finish this, but when you finish it, you're really not happy because you're on to the next goal. So
Mm-hmm.
that describes you, and I know we're not talking about you at all, right?
Right,
The
right.
Mr. Podcaster who has a show that does everything on top of his own job. Hello. So if you're listening and you're nodding your head, okay, I admit it, Dr. Marissa, I am a perfectionist. I have 2 words for you. Stop it.
Right.
You are overwhelming and exasperating yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
there's the tip. If you can be aware that you're being hard on yourself is not helping you, it's hurting you. And that's why I wrote the book. I didn't write the book as a psychologist telling you how to be happy. I wrote the book as someone who was a flaming perfectionist, a
Mm-hmm.
total control freak, a total overachiever who was constantly looking outside of myself with that antenna for approval so I could like myself. And
Right.
the overwhelmment and the dis-ease that most people have in their lives right now is because they cannot cut themselves a break, soothe themselves, and see how wonderful, one of a kind wonderful they actually are.
Right.
It's the dis-ease that is taking all of us down. And that's why my mission is as it stands, because it's not good for us.
No.
We are a generation of 4 generations of people headed down into the most negative, complaining, irritated, frustrated, hateful nation of folks I have ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just me. There's a lot of people who are out there trying to go, hey, wait a minute, this is
Right.
not what we're here for. And so, if I'm not resonating with you, totally fine. There's other people. I don't care how you get there. I just want you to be at peace with you. I have a way that works for me because I'm one of the 7 out of 10 of us who've had childhood trauma. The majority of people who've had some kind of childhood trauma, my honorable moniker, Oprah says it's as high as 8 out of 10. By the way, I wasn't dubbed I guess I was dubbed the Asian Oprah. I didn't make it up. I was actually introduced to Oprah as the Asian Oprah
Right.
by
Right.
Michael Bernard Beckett. So just
I
to
saw the
clarify
story. Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So because there are so many of us, the majority of us who've had that kind of childhood trauma, why is it the majority of us think there's something wrong with us? Why do we think we need to be fixed? Why do we think we need 10 years of therapy to be able to keep up with everybody else? That's BS. That's bullshit talking. There has to be another reason why we went through what we went through. And that's where the book came in. Because
Mm-hmm.
pain in life is mandatory, but suffering is optional.
Right.
So my message is for all of us who've had that kind of past, who I grew up being told I was fat, ugly, and clumsy my entire first 17 years of my life. And so I developed coping strategies like trying to please people, like picking situations where I'll never win, because that's what I knew. But you know what? I was not responsible for the pain that I had as a child. I was not responsible. So if you're listening right now, and I know the majority of you have had some kind of abandonment, abuse, molestation, rape, just horrific things that happened to you as a child, I'm here to tell you that none of what you did as a child led to that. You are not responsible at all, 100% for what happened to you. And it was horrible that it happened, and shame on the people that that made it happen to you. But it is your responsibility now in this moment, as an adult, as a teenager. Do you really want to bring that as baggage, as heavy, oversized baggage to take on your day right now when they don't matter?
Right.
They're not here. You're here. You have an entire life ahead of you that has amazing stops on the joyride of your life, but you cannot see them nor get on the ride if you are overweight. If you have that, if you're dragging that. So take responsibility for your now. You're not responsible for that, but you are responsible for now. And that's what the book's about. And that's why, thank God, it's done really well, because it resonates. There's a plethora of us who continue to suffer from what has happened in the past, and it is unnecessary. But it takes a little work.
Sure.
You got to put the phone down.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
got to start believing in yourself.
Right. Well, doctor, you mentioned it, and it's obviously true that a lot of problems pre-existed COVID. We saw mental health, we saw depression, we saw problems before COVID, but obviously the pandemic has contributed in a lot of ways to these types of problems. And some of the information I saw online, I gathered you've been championing something called the PPP, the post-pandemic possibilities. What is that referencing, and what are the challenges that people are facing now because of the pandemic, and how do we overcome those challenges?
If you want the long version to that answer, go to Medium and look up Dr. Marissa. I wrote early in the pandemic the opportunities that the pandemic is bringing us. And then I actually woke up with this short film, shocker, during the pandemic, another hashtag COVID silver lining, and created this beautiful film that if you're an educator and you want it for your school, I'm happy to donate it. And if you like my message and want to support me, donate to my nonprofit, 8 Ways to Happiness, that helps kids, teens, and young adults who have temporarily forgotten their birthright to happiness. And you'll get a copy of that film. But the film, Post-Pandemic Possibilities, says, before we go back to normal, let's remember that we didn't like our normal. Most people didn't like our jobs. Most people didn't love their lives. Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade are the tragic examples that the biggest BS that's out there is that fame and fortune will make you happy. If that is true, they would not have happened. Robin Williams would not have happened. All of the great artists who had everything that our American dream promises us wouldn't have happened. So we all need to stop, right, and ask ourselves, so I have a friend. She doesn't have an answering machine. She has a questioning machine. And when you call her, she says, "Who are you? And what do you want?" And another hashtag COVID silver lining is we've got a chance to answer those questions. If you have not answered that question, then it's time. Before you go back, who are you that is outside of all of the hamster wheels that you're on? Because if you're the regular person, BC 19, the time before COVID, you were a mother, a father, you were a parent, and running on that hamster wheel. You were an employee or a boss, and you were running on that hamster wheel. You were a family member and running on that hamster wheel. And your life was a tragedy of errors every time you made a mistake, because you're trying to be perfect at all of the roles that you are. I don't want you to go back to that. I want you to stop and ask yourself, who am I really? At the core of who I am. Am I kind? Am I loving? Am I caring? And all of these are 88%. If you've noticed, I use a lot of 8s. And if you're wondering why,
I was going to ask.
Those of you who are, those of you who are watching now can see that I know you thought I was Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese. And in Chinese, in Mandarin, 8 is a lucky number. It's a homonym for good fortune, which is why I'm surrounded with eights. And I talk about 88% happy is because double eight, double good fortune is your birthright. You have a birthright to happiness that we all have forgotten because we got schooled in believing that the American dream was, fame and fortune is our birthright. And it is not our birthright. Happiness, hashtag unconditional happiness, is our birthright. And what is unconditional happiness? It is happiness that resides despite the condition you are in. Did you hear that? Unconditional happiness is happy. Can you be happy no matter what condition is going on around you? Pandemic, no pandemic. Divorce, no divorce. Abandonment, no abandonment. A job, no job. Career, no career. Can you be happy in the moment of that? Yeah, but Dr. Marissa, that's, a little Pollyanna, and I know you're trying to get me to drink the rose-colored Kool-Aid, and you can't be happy all the time. Absolutely. That's why I say 88% of the time. 88% of the time, you can be happy where you are, but you have to stop complaining. You have to stop noticing what's not going right and notice what is going right. You have to stop blaming your conditions from the past for your unhappiness now. You have to stop looking for love in all the wrong places. You have to stop paying attention to what is everybody else is talking about and talk to yourself. I know they say the voices, if you hear voices in your head, you're crazy. I'm telling you now, if you cannot understand who's driving your life car in your head, you're going to go crazy. And most of us have a critic that is driving our life car over a cliff. You shouldn't do this. You should have said that. You shouldn't do that. That's the one, that's the hamster wheel. You don't want that person driving your life car. That's the critic that got developed and sucked out all the negative stuff that was told to you as a child, takes all the insults that you've been given as an adult, sucks them all together, and that critic will make you miserable for the rest of your life.
Right.
You don't want that. You gotta find your balance-centered you. Balance-centered Dennis. Balance-centered Jeff. Balance-centered Dr. Marissa. That is the work if you want to be happy. That's the mission. That is possible because you are possible. But It doesn't, it really requires putting the phone down. It really requires for you to do things even when you don't feel like it. I don't feel like going to bed right now. I'm going to binge watch another meaningless program. No, I'm going to go to bed because I know that in the morning I'm going to regret, I'm going to lose my entire day because I'm fuzzy. No, I'm going to put that Krispy Kreme donut down because I know that it's not doing well. Actually, no, I'm going to eat that today because I'm in my 12%. But tomorrow I'm not gonna. So there's this constant negotiation that I have with myself in order to keep me happy. It's the blissipline. That's where my big brother Michael Bernard Beckwith, who's the one that introduced me to Oprah. Blissipline is the order of the day. Do you have a blissipline? Discipline's a dirty word to me because it sounds like blah. Blissipline tells me that if I do the things that I know fundamentally, you know what to do to be happy, you be happy with yourself first. It is so true. The best saying that I've ever heard is from an African American person who said, when there is no enemy inside, no one on the outside can hurt you. So in my book, one of the fundamental balance tools is you bake your own cake. Do you know how good you are? Do you? Do you have problems looking in the mirror and complimenting yourself? Then you really don't have the full picture of who you are. You got to be able to love yourself 88% of the time. From that cake, the icing is the compliments. Do I love compliments? You betcha. But I know that when I get an insult, which is also icing, it's okay. It's not my cake. So I'm not perfect. So I stepped in it. So I talked too much on that show and They wanted to hear the guest more. Okay, yeah, I do have a tendency. I like to talk. I am so shy. I have nothing to say. Sarcasm is another service that I offer. And sometimes I step into it. But do I want to lose who I am because of one comment that someone, do you have your own show? If you don't have your own show, you really don't have the right to criticize mine. So if you want to do your own show, go do your own show, and then you can use your advice on yourself. So
Right.
again, I have a pretty solid 88% of the time. I know who I am. I am not what I was brought up to believe. I am not a piece of shiitake. I was brought up to believe that I was unworthy, unlovable, unloved, and unloving. That's what I was brought up. That's not true. I'm also not hot shit talky. Which my brat, which is another voice that's in my head, that my brat's the one that says, you're not the boss of me. I don't have to do anything you're telling me to do. I don't have to. I can eat Krispy Kreme donuts every single day. Screw you. So we also have the little brat inside. That was a way to deal with childhood trauma to keep us alive. But that brat can also drive you off the cliff. So you don't want your brat driving either. I have to soothe my brat and say, darling, I love you. But, insulting that client right now is probably not good for our bank account. So we're going to keep our mouth shut right now. I promise you can go insult them. And yes, you're right. If I look like you, I'd be miserable too. We want to say that, but we're not going to say that because it's just not good for us. So this kind of self-talk is so important to anchor us in who we really are. The naturally happy, fun-loving, creative, caring. We all are that. We all are that. Every single person on the planet is a one-of-a-kind, wonderful that. And that's where, if we really want to discipline out and grab life by the balls and juice all of the joy and wonder out of it, we have to start our discipline because the buck stops right over here.
Right. Now, and I agree with everything you're saying, Doctor. But one twist on that theme, I believe fully that we have the capacity to be wonderful and good and happy. But I know that you have also spoken very openly about, and you even mentioned earlier, the word hate and how hateful some of our society has become. And specifically, I wanted to focus on, which is arguably partially related to the pandemic, this issue of the awful hate and hate crimes which have been directed towards Asians and Asian Americans. And I know that that's a topic that you've addressed. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, I kind of take it personally.
Sure, absolutely.
How do you not take it personally? Although it was interesting, I didn't jump right away. I remember signing a petition in June that came in my email box. I love change.org. They have a platform and the ability. So if you're feeling like you don't have a lot of meaning in your life, there's plenty of things that you can use your energy to help with. And change.org has plenty of those that, we're all different. We have different things that ring our bells. So when I saw the petition around getting mainstream media to cover Asian hate crimes that have been happening, hashtag Stop AAPI Hate has been documenting very objectively the number of hate crimes since the pandemic started. I remember signing that petition, but not jumping on the bandwagon because I try to practice what I teach most of the time, even though the name of my show is Take My Advice, I'm not using it.
Right, yeah.
I actually 88% of the time track, but I caution everyone not to have a knee-jerk, head jerk, period, reaction to anything. So when something first floats in, I sit with it. Let me think about that. So I thought about it and then I researched it. So this is a great process. If you are a jerk person, literally,
yeah, right.
yeah, exactly. But you might want to practice this. So the first step is just to take it in, the first thing, and to take that breath that we did before, and then say, interesting, or let me think about that. Because someone will say, what do you think about that? And you say, let me think about it, I'll get back to you. That in of itself is progress, right? So you're not coming back. And hate is a tricky thing, because when you hate something, you're using the same point of energy as the thing that you don't like.
Right.
Let me give you an example. One of the reasons why the war on drugs has not worked, or the war on obesity, or the war on anything, even the war on racism, has not worked, is because hate is hate. Doesn't matter the target of your hate. If you hate something, you are directing a negative bottom line energy towards something. Doesn't matter if it's good or not. And that energy, you are guilty of going and Michelle Obama, go high. When you hate, you go low.
Right.
So we're learning, hopefully, about balance. There's a way to change with love. And then the extremists will say, oh, that's bullshitaki. Are you saying, Dr. Mish, you want us to hold hands and sing Kumbaya? No, that's not the love that I am talking about. The love that I'm talking about is, I love you, and I'm not going to leave your comment here because it's not loving.
Right.
Even though what you're saying may be true for you, definitely it's true, but it may not. And I always ask this question. I am sure that I believe this. Am I sure that I believe this? So then I do my research first. And I go to not biased news. I know it's really difficult to find, but there's this great chart. If you put in biased news, it'll come up, and it puts all the major networks where they stand, far right, far left, middle, whatever it is. So I do my research. I respect medical research. I respect, there's certain places I go. And then I ask myself, do I still believe this way? Yes or no? Yes, I still do. Okay, yes, I do. There's a flow chart. So yes, I still believe this. Now, does it matter if anyone else believes this? Or is it enough that I believe it? There's the crux. Can I be okay with just me believing this and let others believe their own truth? For most things, you can. But we have convinced ourselves that not only do I have to believe this, but everybody else has to believe it. Otherwise, they're wrong. And there's very few things that actually is true of. There's so many things. Can you imagine our world if we all thought the same way? How boring would that be? Right? But the variety that we have in the world, look, I love people watching in airports because I just see so much diversity, and we all, 7.3 billion of us are different. Why can't we be okay with our differences? Why can't we really be okay? Now, there's a couple of exceptions. What Hitler did, we don't want to repeat that, right? So I'm not saying that there are not some things that we need to stand and say, actually, no, it's not okay what happened to George Floyd. Nah, it's not okay. So, but am I going to hate all white people? Am I going to hate all cops? Am I going to hate, is that my reaction? I'm going to hate? No, I'm going to love myself, knowing that I want a world that is stemmed in peace. Now, if I want that, what am I going to need to do? I'm going to tell people to watch 13th. This documentary on Netflix, because it explains how our underlying racism towards Black people has led to a $1 billion prison industry with mostly Black males. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to educate myself instead of having a jerk reaction to say, don't tell me Black lives matter. All lives matter. What about the Native American? Blah, 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 blah. No, I'm going to say, you know what? Yeah, Black lives are going to have to matter a little more than they did, as symptomized by what happened to George Floyd. So I'm going to support any effort for not completely breaking down the policing system, recognizing that they have been here to protect and serve. I'd like to change it to serve and protect, but we're working on it. But you're not going to throw away and hate all police. You're going to hate all anybody. So that's why it's so important to balance. That's my message. Balance. Find, where to hold and where to fold, where to put the pressure and where to back off, where to lovingly apply a shift in the thinking that leads to a shift in the action. Our systems are broken in America. The new PPP, post-pandemic possibilities, are saying don't go back to the systems that aren't working. Starting with yourself. Examine your own cookies in your life browser. Are they stale? Are you operating on old BS belief systems? And then our education system. Are we, still teaching curriculum that has white supremacy embedded in it? We are. So, yes, I'm going to support ethnic studies because I know what I'm going to cover stories that talk about ethnic studies. I'm going to use my platform to shift the focus from hating to let's focus on things that are working. Let's focus on people that are doing something to help shift the playing field. It is true. Hiring managers, funding managers, bank managers for loans, buying houses, getting promotions, all of those systems have been geared towards white men
towards
and women.
Me. Yes.
Yeah. Because that's just men, the way that's just, and for you to say that and not be pissed off about it is so great because you're acknowledging that, I didn't do it. I didn't have slaves, but I acknowledge that our country has been born on some practices that were not great. We stole land from Native Americans. Let's just put the moose on the table. That's my Canadian version of the elephant in the room. We stole land from them. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Native Americans discovered America.
Right.
And number two, the wealth that this family, this blue blood family, those families' fortunes were built on slaves who were dragged to our country against their will. Let's just call it like it is. I know you didn't do it. I know that you're a good person. But when I say this, people expect me to say it because I'm a person of color. When you say it and say, not proud of it, I wish it hadn't happened, but it did happen. And I'm going to do what I can to bring on a guest who's going to be a little vocal about this stuff.
I'll even add this, coming from a white male perspective. I don't think that there's anything wrong about visiting and revisiting the question or the issue of reparations. I know that that's a hotbed as far as political debate goes, but it's something that I think deserves more time and attention than it's been getting. So along the lines of what you've been saying, I think that is something that's important to throw out there.
Yeah, I had a great guest on who educated me around the horrific reality that not only did they not get reparation, there was at one point some acres and a mule that was suggested that went down in flames, and not only did it go down in flames, reparation was given to the slave owner. So I don't know if you knew that, but that's wow.
In addition to being a lawyer, I was a history major, so you're preaching to the choir here, and I love that you're talking about these things. And such a large focus, obviously, of your practice and your efforts is on helping people find balance and happiness. And you've talked about the goal of getting 8 million people to be 88% more happy in the next 8 years, and discussed with us, where this figure came from, the number 8. Is that really a true goal? 8 million people, 8 years, 88%. And if that's the case, how do you track the success of that type of goal? And how do you quantify when you're 88% happy?
So I'm happy to tell you that I already exceeded my 8 million. I actually changed my 8 to 88 million about 6 months ago when I hit 8 million. And I'll tell you, I tracked it because when I was on tour with the book, I hit every major bookstore. I was on every major news station, and I tracked their Nielsen's, and I looked at the number of people that saw it. I looked at the number of books. I looked at the book signings. I also did a program. I was on the number one the number one channel in the Philippines when I was speaking at a conference, and I got to share at the stage. He opened it, Manny Pacquiao, and that particular program and the interview that I had with Karen Davila on ABS-CBN, she's also called the Philippine Oprah. That program had a hit of 2.8 million people. So that was quantifiable. So that brought me up to 5 million. And then I was in China, 10 miles from Wuhan in November on the Szechuan radio and television station on a show called The Fragrance of Women Speaking, and that had an audience of 4 million. So already I was over the 8 million. Then when I came back and I just got promoted from my once a week primetime show after 480 consecutive weeks on the air over 9 years. And then I just got promoted into the Daily Show. And I'm happy to tell you, just got the numbers for the first month that I've been on the air in the morning. I got a 1.7, which means that I have a low side of 160,000 every 15-minute section to 4 times that, which is 600,000 listeners on a daily basis. So you do the math. They may be common, listeners, but the good news is I am now well into my 88 million. And I say this because I know I will probably die and go to the other side where my dad is by the time before I reach 88 million. But I didn't want to go from 8 million to 18 million. I just wanted to give a number that's so crazy so that I know I ain't ever retiring. So that's the reason why I will never retire. I love what I do. I believe in what I do. I know that that's why I am here doing what I am. That's why I was abused as a child, because it's not what happened to me. It's what happened for me. And for me to have a mouth, which is unusual for an Asian woman, you're not brought up to have a mouth. You're not brought up to be on stage. I'm disappointing and shaming my entire family every time I talk. But I know that I'm a Leo in 5 planets, and I can't help myself. I was told by an astrologer, you just can't help yourself. You have to be in front of a camera. You have to be talking. So I'm doing what I was born and built to do. So if you don't know what your purpose is, I got one thing for you. I know exactly what your purpose is in life is. Your purpose in life is to expand and grow into the one-of-a-kind wonderful you are. However that expresses yourself. And it's to be happy 88% of the time. That's your purpose, to be happy 88% of the time. Because from that place, you can create whatever it is you want to create. I get to create and innovate every single day. So do you. So does everyone. If you stay off your phone, if you stay out of negativity, if you are resonating, join my 21-day fast from complaining. That's your baseline. If you can stop complaining for 21 days, you're well on your way.
That's quite an accomplishment for people to really try to do 21 days or even 21 hours without complaining. But, one of your sizzle reels that I watched, I heard you referring to how people gauge happiness based on benchmarks. And I know you referenced this a little bit earlier. For instance, I'll be happy when I make $1 million. I'll be happy when, the kids are taken care of, or when I've finished school, or whatever it is. And I know I've done that. I know a lot of people that do that, set those benchmarks. What's wrong with that way of thinking, and what's the better goal to have with respect to finding your happiness? And how do we do that?
So there's nothing wrong with goals. So let's just put that out there. Uh, Goals are great little milestone benchmarking ways to feel like you accomplished something. I have goals every day. I don't do to-do lists anymore because I was spending more time writing them out and also moving them to the following day and feeling like a failure.
Sure.
So I do what I think I need to do, the major things, obviously, for my show, for my kids, for, those are things that and I reward myself when I do those things. And I have a very great negotiation with myself that if I finish something that I like to do, that's the reward in and of itself. And if I finish something that I don't like to do, I get to play Candy Crush. That's my, motivation.
Sure.
But what people don't understand is when you are so focused on the goal, and if you are a perfectionist, the goals can hurt you because you don't really acknowledge when you have accomplished the goal. You get to the goal, you go, yay, and then you're on to the next goal. And you get 88% to that goal, and you're in that place of, I still have 12% to go. I'll be happy when I get to the goal. I'll be happy when I get to the goal. You get to the goal, you touch it, and you're back to the next goal, and you're at 88%, and you're always in that negative 12% energy as, I've got to get there, I've got to get there. And that dis-ease hurts you. It hurts you physically, mentally, emotionally. It's not good for your health. So 88% is the point line where that's your goal, right? If I get it 88, now I'm not talking about pilots flying my plane, but I am talking about most things, 88%, if I'm there, I'm going to celebrate it. And you cannot change what you say is going to make you happy because that is the never ending when. I'll be happy when, you remember when you're in your 20s, I'll be happy when I get 50,000, or when you're a teenager, I'll be happy when I have 50,000 in the bank. And then it was 100,000, and then it was 500,000, then it was this house, and then it was 2 cars, and then it was when your kids are out of school. Oh, well, their kids out of my house, or kids in college, and then your parents are healthy, or I'm healthy. You're never going to be happy because there's so many things out of your control that will continue to change, and you're never going to be happy. You can do that for the rest of your life. I have clients that come to me at 70. I'm not happy. And I'm like, thank God you still have at least, the average 10, 16 years to get this. That's good. I don't want you to be that. I want you to be, midlife and say, okay, I'm ready. I give. I want to be happy. And you stop and you have to deal with what you've been trying not to deal with. My biggest client base are people who have had childhood trauma, who've used the garbage disposal approach to past pain, pushed it down, pushed it down, pushed it down, push it down, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's in the past. You can't change it, so don't deal with it. Once you press down garbage, what does it turn to? Liquid. Press down liquid, it turns into gas. What happens? You're in your midlife crisis, which I call the midlife opportunity. You're leaking gas. So these are the people who are high achievement oriented people who have made it up the ladder. And then one day they start crying and they don't know why and they can't stop. And the doctor puts them on some kind of anti-something, and then they have side effects that are worse than what they were feeling in the first place. Or you have anger issues. I am not angry, which is related to self-awareness issues. So those are my clients that come in midlife and say, what's wrong with me? And my response is, there's nothing wrong with you. You are finally feeling the effects of something that you have to deal with. And I am not, I apologize to psychologists, traditional clinical psychologists. I do not believe you need a full 10 years of therapy to feel better about yourself. I believe in rapid, transformative therapy. I do it, I don't call it therapy, it's coaching, it's life balance coaching. It's all in my book that you can just follow along. If you don't want to see someone, just do the exercises in the book, because I lay it out there so that more people can access the solution to past pain. If you can work through those exercises and deal with your pain once and for all, then it's like you will never hate yourself the same way again. Because we all have that hole. We all have that big black hole that we're like, ooh, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to deal with it because I'm going to be like Humpty Dumpty and I'll never deal with it. I'll never be put back together again. And that's bullshit hockey. You can with whoever. I'm not the answer to everybody. I am the answer to those who resonate with the kind of past that I've had. But you go in there. If you take the book, it's like a little flashlight. I'm with you. I hold your hand. If you coach with me, you dig out all of the shiitake. You find that it's not a never-ending hole that you're going to fall through. There's a bottom. There's sides. Take the flashlight. Look at all the beautiful things that have been developed because of all the past pain. Find the seed and then we take all that shiitake and put it back in as fertilizer because that's why it happens. You who have had past pain are in this incredible position to have so much sensitivity, which is 100% correlated with creativity, to identify with others who have had that as well. And if we're the majority, we need y'all. We need people to step up and say, I got it. I understand, which I really do understand what you're going through. Nobody's lived in Simone Biles' shoes. Nobody knows so people who have had that experience, that's why I put my interviews with Shannon Miller and Lori Hernandez. They know what she's going through, but they still don't know what she's gone through in particular. Right. So all of us have value in the pain that we've had. All of us have value in the mental health hardships that we have. It's not a hardship. It is a gift to bring us into the magnificence that we really are. I'll close because I think we're getting to time with this story that I love to use that speaks to past pain. So there's two rocks. One's on the left side of the store, one's on the right side. And everybody that comes into the store never goes to the left side. They always go, they're drawn to the right rock. And the right rock is so beautiful and has light prisms that go through. And everybody's always complimenting that rock. And it's just so gorgeous, blah, blah, blah. Finally, after 8 years, the rock on the left is pissed off, technical term, and shakes its hand in the air, jumps off the little pedestal and says, life, you are not fair. Get over here. I got an issue. For 8 years, I have to watch this stupid rock on the right get all of the attention, get all of the compliments and all of everything, and I got nothing. No one has ever come over and said that I am beautiful. Life, you are not fair. Life comes down, clouds part, thunder rumbles, comes down, puts his arm around the left rock and says, darling, I love you, but every time I would come close to you with the chisel and begin to do the work, you would say, no, it hurts, stop. I can't take it, I don't want to hurt, no pain. Moral, you can't have the growth and expansion and beauty of life without some pain.
Right.
And you have to allow it, but pain is mandatory and suffering is optional.
Absolutely. And I love that, Doctor. Obviously, there's so many other areas I want to explore with you, and I'd love to have you back and talk about some of those meditation, spirituality, business, any number of things that you are definitely equipped to discuss. But for now, thank you so much for being here with us today. We're definitely going to have the link to the website so that folks can know how to get that book. Again, 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. I want everybody to check that out. I want to thank you all for joining us today. And again, be sure to subscribe, rate and review Uncommon Convos on your favorite podcast platform, and visit Uncommon Convos to watch the video version of this and every episode. Also, if you haven't done so, please check out our other podcasts, LegalSqueaks.com, where you can learn the most recent information on certain legal and consumer news that might impact your life. I want to thank VanDerGinst Law, our sponsor, once again. And if you need help with an injury claim anywhere in the country, reach out at vlaw.com. Our thanks again to Dr. Marissa. Be sure to check out her book. And I love, by the way, I want to wrap things up by mentioning this, that you've obviously had wonderful opportunities to speak to some amazing people. And those of you who have the time and opportunity, be sure to check out the website and her YouTube channels to see some of those interviews, some of those discussions. A lot of great fun. So
great. Yes, I was just going to offer actually to your listeners as a gift, since it has been fun chatting with you. If you do get the book off my website, either the audiobook or the hard one with the signature, I will give you a buy one, get one free. And the gift will be a children's book. I have a children's book called Mommy Little Feelings, and I would love to give that as a gift. Yes, my YouTube channel does house my interviews with Halle Berry, John Travolta, Quincy Jones, which I think that you're referencing there. So,
absolutely. And we definitely appreciate that, Doctor. So the rest of you, please check us out again next week for another Uncommon Convo. In the meantime, have a great day, stay safe, and I love you all.